So you just got a Gh4. You're loving the 4K. You're loving the fact that you can adapt pretty much any lens of that body, but you're in the market for a wide-angle lens. And that thing's got a 2x crop factor. It's that 2x crop factor that complicates things. I wanted to go as wide as possible without going fisheye with this lens. I ended up going with the Rokinon 12mm f2. And let's start with the pros. f2. On a wide-angle lens, that's pretty good. In fact, it actually helps you address one of the Gh4's shortcomings, which is its low light performance, or lack thereof. Being able to open up that wide and let that much light in makes this a serious contender if you're considering a wide-angle lens for the Gh4. Images are acceptable at f2, I might add. It's not super noisy. It's still pretty sharp. And of course, it gets even sharper once you hit, f8 and f11. So overall, very sharp lens. The image quality far exceeds the $400 price point. So let's talk about the build quality on this thing. It's solid and it's small, which is a huge advantage. Rokinon actually makes a 14mm f2.8 that I was looking at, but it's almost twice the size of this. And it had the, the dome-shaped lens. It was difficult to attach filters to, which this has got your, standard 67mm thread on it, so you can attach ND filters, circular polarizers, whatever you need, which is a huge, huge convenience for this lens. It has a manual aperture ring and a manual focus ring, both of which feel really smooth and solid. The aperture ring is not declicked like Rokinon's Cine line lenses, but it's still nice and solid. You go from f2 all the way up to f22, and you can focus all the way to infinity with this. I found both of these work really, really well. Which brings me to my cons, and I know a lot of people may actually consider the manual aperture ring a con and the manual focus a con. I really don't, especially with, I come from video, so, doing manual focus is no big thing. I'm kind of used to it. But if you're working with the Micro Four Thirds system, the big draw of that system and the purpose for which it was created is adapting lenses to your body, adapting a wide array of lenses. So you kind of have to accept that there's going to be some give and take with that. You might have some features that you just don't have control over when you're adapting lenses from, third-party manufacturers. And of course, with the Gh4, you've got all of your focus assists, like your focus peaking and being able to zoom in and out to get, really sharp focus when you need to focus manually. And with wide-angle lenses, you're going to be stopped down to the point where pretty much everything's going to be in focus anyway. In fact, I know that the few times I was testing this, I just left it on my camera, set the focus to infinity, and just picked up the camera and started shooting whenever I wanted to. So, pretty convenient. A lot of the cons that I found with this lens really aren't with the lens itself. It's with the fact that you're adapting a third-party lens to the camera body. For instance, the lens does not communicate in any way with the body of the camera, so you're not going to get any of that metadata that goes along with your files. You'll still get shutter speed and ISO because those occur in the body of the camera, but you're not going to get your f-stop. You're also not going to get your lens profiles in programs like Adobe Camera Raw. So when it comes to correcting distortion, which by the way is pretty minimal with this lens, you're just going to have to do that by hand and kind of accept that. And those seem like minor things that don't really bother me per se. Of course, when I'm shooting video and stills for this particular review, I found that to be quite annoying, keeping track of each one of my shots and what my settings were and stuff, so I could bring you guys some accurate data. Something to consider. And lastly, my concern with this lens, and again, with the Panasonic Gh4, you've got that 2x crop factor, and the big question for me was, how wide can I go? I want to go as wide as I possibly can, because I have to multiply every number by 2. And so, in this case, I've got a 12mm lens. This is an effective 24mm field of view. I guess my big concern was, is that wide enough? And I think I have found a happy medium in this case, because I've noticed that there is minimal distortion, which is kind of nice. I don't even need to correct it if I don't want to. It's easy enough to correct by hand if you need to. But I think that is something to consider. If you're wanting to go really, really wide and you're trying to get down into the 7mm or 8mm, which would be your 14 and 16mm equivalent, that is something to keep in mind too when you're shopping for a wide-angle lens for the Gh4. All right, guys, I am Joe Baker with the Edit Bay. I hope you found this review useful. If you have any questions, please shoot me a comment in the box below. Don't forget to subscribe to the Edit Bay. I'll see you next time.